morning already. And we've got our next speaker, Jennifer. Jennifer goes by JKN. When businesses are drowning in chaos, broken systems, and lost revenue, JKN swoops in like a tech-savvy superhero. As a genius behind JKN Solutions, she helps entrepreneurs go from feeling like they are in a dumpster fire disaster to owning streamlined money-making machines. At AAA, she's flipped the script on boring lead gen because what's better than growing your business? Growing it while giving away epic vacations that close deals and create raving fans. Please help me welcome JKN, Escaping the Content Mill of Modern Business.
Hi, I'm actually Jennifer ELIA, and I'm the lead funnel scale, but I am going to be talking about escaping the content mill of modern business.
Okay.
Okay. So everyone, if you have a business in 2025, you know that there are so many things that you are supposed to be doing. There's pressure on us constantly to keep up. And it seems like every day there's something new that is being presented. You should have a podcast, you should have a book. There's 17 million social platforms to be on. And don't just post once, post 15 times. And many times this can feel like you are on a hamster wheel and you wonder if any of it matters. Well, I can tell you that even in 2025, words matter. Words are what power the internet. We may think it's videos, we may think it's photos, but it's really words that power the internet and drive sales. So content is still king and it's not going anywhere. The problem is, though, that too many business owners spend way too much of their time creating content and not enough time growing their business. The content needs to be a means for growing your business and a foundation, but it should not be what's occupying so much of your time. So today I'm going to take a brief look at how when you create systems for your content creation, which is important. I know many times we get burnt out and we say, that's it, I'm just not doing anything. When you create systems and have a strategic approach to what you're doing, not only will you spend less time on your content, but you will also get greater impact from it. So I am Jennifer ELIA from Lead Funnel Scale. I help business owners streamline their marketing, simplify their tech, and create systems and processes that help their business grow no matter what is going on in their personal life, so that you showing up to your ideal client and getting that prospect into your funnel is not dependent on what's going on in your life or how many fires you need to put out. So when we are in modern business, we get dropped into it and people expect us to know how to do everything, right? From tech to marketing to sales closing to creating courses and being a sales conversion writer. How many of you have experienced that? If you have, drop a 1 in the comments, because I think we've all gone into business thinking, I am going to help people in this is my superpower, and now I feel like a fish out of water because I have so many things to do. And like I said, content is king. We need to be on multiple platforms. We need to be showing up to our audience because that is what builds trust. And I know that they talk about the no trust factor. No like trust factor, sorry. And people do need to know you and like you. But more importantly, they need to trust you, because I can tell you they can know you and not trust you. They can trust you and not like you. More than anything, they need to trust you. In 2025, it is harder to make sales because people need to have more trust. They're taking longer to make decisions. Impulse buys are at an all-time low. They're nearly non-existent. And so building that relationship, establishing authority, and building trust is the number one thing we need to do in our business. And the best way to do that is through content. So before you think you just said, I don't need to spend all my day creating content, but now you tell me that this is the only way I can get people in, let me take a step back and give you a little glimpse into how I ended up here and what I do now with my business. First of all, I only teach, preach, and sell things that I have done myself and have been successful. I walk the walk and talk the talk. I don't pitch something and then use another program, or pitch something and then find clients another way. This is what I'm doing in my own business. So I started as a copywriter. I love to write. I wrote for multiple online magazines. I am on multiple social media platforms every day, multiple times a day. However, it gets exhausting. And so to keep up with all the writing, that is how I connect with people. That is how I get clients that DM me and say, "Hey, I want to work with you." I was spending literally hours every day creating LinkedIn posts, writing articles, writing blogs, showing up on Facebook, commenting in groups, commenting on LinkedIn, going on X, making YouTube videos, and then writing descriptions. And it got to be exhausting because at the end of the day, I had put in a full day of work creating all of this, sending connection requests, doing all the things that are on the list. And I couldn't make a one-to-one correlation how it made me money. Yes, there were clients coming in, yet all of the effort I was putting in felt like I was working another job. And then I had to do client work on top of it. And sometimes doing all of that content prevented me from bringing in the clients I needed. So I knew that something had to change. And in the process of me starting to build systems and see the gaps in the businesses I was working in, I realized that the systems are the biggest part of it. We think that is about the platform we're on. We think it's about the trends or the algorithm, but it isn't. It's all about the systems and showing up consistently. They always say that consistency trumps quantity. But also, when you only need three things to succeed at marketing, it's consistency, confidence, and persistence. So that's how we're going to create a system. Now, most of you probably drop into LinkedIn and write a post and then say, "Oh, I need to make 20 comments." There's all those LinkedIn rules, right? Raise your hand, all the LinkedIn rules that the people put out there. If you don't do exactly these things in this order every single day by 9:02 and 30 seconds a.m. Eastern, forget it. You'll never succeed at LinkedIn. Those rules are helpful for consistency, but they aren't what actually makes the difference and moves the needle. So you drop into LinkedIn, you're like, "Oh, I need to say something insightful. Now I need to do these comments." Then you drop into Facebook, then you drop into Instagram, then maybe you put something on TikTok or you put something on X, and you're exhausted by the time the end of it, and the creativity in your mind that can fuel your business is gone. Instead, what I do and what I teach my people to do is a strategic approach, which starts with the end point. Instead of saying, "I need to create content," what you need to be saying is, "I need people to do X, Y, or Z." So I need to get people into my high ticket offer. I need people to show up at my summit. I need people to book sales calls. I need people to follow me on YouTube so that I can monetize it. Whatever it is that your goal is for that month or that quarter, that's what I generally do, is look at a quarter at a time. I figure out what that goal is. What do I want people to do for me? Because in the end, we need to be givers, right? We need to show up and provide value. But in the end, our business needs to serve us, or we just have a very expensive hobby and we're wasting our time. If our business isn't serving us in some way, then we are wasting our time. So, what do I need to get my business to serve me and to grow it? And that is where you start. Okay. You start with the end. The content is like a minuscule part at the bottom. It is so important, but everybody starts at the content and then they try to build up. Whereas you need to start at the top and go down. The content's the last thing you plan. Now, in the process of that, you need to obviously have a sales system, have a lead generation and lead nurturing system. All of those are in place. But once you have those and you know what you want people to do, then you can step back and say, "Okay, now what do I need to tell them?" And this isn't in a salesy way, right? None of us like being pitch slapped. We don't like those DMs that show up that are like, "Hire me and pay me lots of money for this," or the constant like, "Hey girl, let's do this." We want to build relationships. Relationships are what build businesses, and we want to serve in a way that serves us, serves our clients, and makes an impact in the world. So, what do they need to hear to overcome not just their objections, but overcome that fear that is keeping them in that first step of thinking that they're all alone, no one understands their problem, and no one can ever fix it. And so they're stuck. Stuck people can't make decisions. Empowered people can. So, what do they need to hear to speak to those fears that they think they are the only one that has it in their head? They're the only one that is dealing with this in their business or their life, to empower them to take that first step and say, you know what, I'm going to get on that 30-minute call with that Wayne is offering. I'm going to download that checklist that Dr. Meg is offering. And I'm going to take that step to take charge of my life and make a difference. Okay, so what do they need to hear about that? What are the questions that keep them up at night that they're afraid to ask? We all have them, and we're all afraid to ask them because we think we shouldn't have this question, right? Or if I ask this question, people are going to think, well, you're not a competent business owner. You're not a competent mom. You're not whatever it is, okay? You're not a competent coach. We have these questions that are lingering in the back of our mind, and at 3 a.m., they keep us up sometimes. So, what are those questions that they're afraid to ask? They will not ask you, they will not post it on Facebook, but they'll Google it at 2 a.m. when they're up with it. So, how can you listen to social listening tools to find out what those questions are? Also, what is it that is the biggest pain point? You know, we always talk about talking to pain points, and I don't believe in fear marketing. I don't believe in making people uncomfortable or looking at this little, the splinter that they have in their hand that's really irritating them and making sure you rub a little salt into it so they realize how bad it is. However, there's this pain point that tips people over and makes them want to make a change. If you've ever thought of when you've made a change, like a drastic change in your life, whether that was a move, whether it was a career change, whether it was weight loss or a health goal, or whatever it was a big thing. And for years, it was in the back of your mind, and maybe it was keeping you up at 3 a.m., but you just weren't there, right? You knew it was a problem, but the discomfort wasn't enough for you to be able to make that decision. And so they say that the top niches are health, wellness, and health, wealth, and relationships. And I have a client who says no one wants to get healthy, right? We want the benefit of it. We all say we want to get healthy, but when it comes to it, we don't want to change what we're eating. We want to eat what we enjoy, right? We don't want to change our schedule. We like sleeping in, or we like not having to go to the gym or whatever. But what we do want is we want to be able to not have our knees hurt when we're out with the kids. We want to be able to not feel exhausted all day. We want to not have headaches or not be able to sleep. Like, that's what we want. So, what is that pain point? Yes, all of that relates to being healthy, right? It relates to having a good diet, it relates to having a routine for our exercise. And you can apply this to any niche, right? You can apply this to business, you can apply this to wealth management, you can apply this to life coaching. There are benefits that in transformation that we provide, but what is that sticking point, right? Even with life coaching, if you look at it, yes, capturing your thoughts and be able to coach yourself through that and regulate your emotions changes your life profoundly. But is that what anyone is looking for? No, they want their day to not feel like it completely goes off the rail every day, or they want to not feel guilty because their kids drive them crazy and they end up yelling at them when they don't mean to. Okay, there's these sticking points that help people. So in your content, that's the other thing. What is the true pain point? What is the true pain point that people are dealing with? And it's just really usually a very minuscule part of what you do that you can share with people. So now that you have those ideas in place, here's the next step to having a system. Yes, you should be on more than one platform. And I know that there are so many of them, and there are many people telling you be on every platform there are, like Gary Vee, and you feel like I will never sleep again if I do that, right? Gary Vee actually has 100 employees, 100, 100, that solely work on his social media. That's their only job. And they each only work on a single platform. I mean, there's obviously multiple ones on each platform. What I'm saying is they're not doing all the platforms. He may have like 5 people on LinkedIn and 8 people on TikTok or something like that. So he's telling you be on every platform, and then he has 100 people doing it for them. Most of us are solopreneurs, or we have a small team or subcontractors, and we need a better plan. So being on multiple platforms is important. However, you need a strategy to it. And I would say that out of the platforms that you can choose, first of all, know where your people are and how you like to show up. My people are on LinkedIn. Why? Because I serve primarily B2B service providers and coaches and scaling 8-figure businesses. They are on LinkedIn. Also, I'm a content creator as far as writing. I love writing articles. I love writing 3 paragraph comments. Okay. That is the LinkedIn audience. People on Instagram don't want that. So figure out where your people are, but also how you're going to show up for them. Make that your primary platform. And now you're going to create a system that's going to take what you do there and break it up and put it all the other places that you think you need to show up. So for branding, I am on Facebook. I have followers on Facebook. I get requests to be on summits or podcasts through Facebook. I have not gotten a single client from Facebook in almost 6 years. However, all of my branding and my connections and my networks, for the most part, as far as speaking and connecting with people, have come from Facebook. And so I do have a presence there. It's not my primary. So when I am planning my content, my LinkedIn content comes first. So you should have where your people are showing up, one that you have for branding. And pretty much the best ones for those are any of the Meta platforms are great for branding. They're good for lead generation in certain niches. It may not be your niche. So if you're not getting people from there, don't feel badly, but they are great for branding, and they do rank high in Google for getting you in front of people who are looking for people in your niche. And so it is a branding thing. The third thing is find a way that you're showing up on video. Now, YouTube is a great one because it is a search engine and it does show up on Google well, but perhaps you don't want to do these longer videos and you prefer to do TikTok, or you want to show up on Instagram only with video. That's fine. I would say find something that is using video, and if it is a search engine such as Amazon, Pinterest, or YouTube, that is a huge bonus because now your content will get so much more of a lifespan and be served to so many more people. Those are your 3 pillars as far as where you need to be. And you can take them and then you can stick them other subsets of places, once you have your system in place. But pick 3 and put your stuff there. So you have your content ideas, you have your platforms that you're working on. What do you do with content? Well, again, we have our goal and we're talking about these points. We don't want to just be showing up and putting out content that comes to the top of our head. Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we get inspiration, we just put something up. But we want to have a plan of what is that content saying. And we want to come up with some core content for each week. So that core content could be a 3 to 5 minute video. It could be a 1,200 word article on LinkedIn. It could be a series of reels on Instagram. Whatever that core content is, that is a chunk of information. Okay, so it gives you a chunk of an idea. It doesn't tell you everything. It's not a dissertation. It's not the complete manual to what you do. It's just a chunk of information that's on a topic. So if we take this back to, I think we can all relate to, pain or headaches, right? This is an easy thing that everybody has gone through, right? We take it back to that. There are different aspects of pain that you can talk about, right? How it may limit what activities you could do. That could be a core content idea. It may affect your relationships because either you withdraw or you have a hard time staying in a group or in an activity because you're in pain. Okay, so that's another one. The third thing is the anxiety that it creates in you because you are worried about, why do I have all this pain? And let's come up with a fourth one. The fourth one could be, I've tried everything and nothing works. Maybe this is the best it's going to be. So those are your 4 content ideas. Create your core content. The easiest one to do actually is a video, as much as I like writing. It's easiest to create a video and talk about what you're doing, and then take that script or that concept, and now you can break it into little ideas. So there are going to be, when you see reels, right, that are broken out of videos, that's basically what they're doing. They're pulling out the highlights. Can you find 10 highlights in that 5-minute video that you can create into smaller little pieces of content, such as reels, or such as a tweet, or such as like a short Facebook post? If you can take one video and break it into 10 short pieces of content, you now have 10 more pieces of content that you can use. Can you take that 5-minute video and make it into 3 main pillars? So maybe those are each a minute and a half each, or they are a longer Facebook post, or another live on Facebook. They could be a LinkedIn post. Now you have more content. From just one video, you probably could get enough content for 2 weeks. But here is where people get stuck. We've all heard about repurposing content, right? We've all heard about posting it in lots of places, but we still want to be strategic, okay? We don't want to just create content for the sake of creating content. And Google is finally backing that up. So if you're worried that Google wants lots of new stuff, they don't. They want you to be creating content that promotes your authority and shows what you know and provides value. So this is the 4th part of the system. You can break it up. Please schedule it out, because life is crazy and you never know what's going to happen. But now you're back at the end of the week, you're back at the end of the month, however long you scheduled, and you need to start over. And again, you feel like you're on a hamster wheel. I can say just from doing that process that I've done so far, I went from spending 2 to 3 hours a day on content to spending about 3 hours a month on content. And I am showing up more places, getting more visibility, and reaching more people, okay? The next step, though, is analytics. And this is what we never talk about as far as content. When the gurus and the influencers get out there, they just tell you, like, this is what the algorithm wants, right? We've all heard that, okay? This is how you get seen. This is how many pieces of content you need. This is how you show that you're all in. Right? We've all heard that. And it's frustrating because you're like, I am all in. I'm doing all the stuff. It's not working. Analytics is the part that they are not telling you. You can bet that they are tracking their analytics and seeing which posts are getting the most traction. So which post got the most engagement? Which topic is getting people talking the most? Which thing have I put out there that then someone responded to and messaged me? Or sent me a connection request, let's say on LinkedIn. You need to be tracking all of that, because that is what not only propels your system and gets you off the hamster wheel, but it also validates your system and optimizes it. And that's what we want. We don't want to just keep doing more. We want to do what we're doing better. So once you're tracking your analytics, now you can see, hey, this post that I did about, are you being kept up at night from shoulder pain, like blew up and everybody had to talk about it. Well, now I know that talking about staying up at night with shoulder pain is one of those little prickly points for my people. And I can talk more about that. But not only that, I can take that post and put it into a bank. And that bank, just like a bank with money, grows and builds interest. Now, it builds interest better than most of the banks do right now, because interest is like pennies, right? But it builds interest because it serves you again and again. So you have that post that you can pull out. And you might be saying, well, if I keep using my posts, they're going to say, oh, she's just lazy and isn't making anything new. And all my competitors are going to go ahead of me, right? Is anybody thinking that? You can drop in the chat or put your hand up. We're probably all thinking that, right? Everything needs to be fresh. Everything needs to be new. Yes and no. The statistic, because it's always good to know statistics, of the amount of people that see and remember a single piece of content is less than 2%. So figure out how many followers you have on any given platform. And less than 2% of them on any given day, on any given piece of content, are first of all seeing it, and secondly, remembering it. You can reuse content. You don't want to just become the opposite end of a content mill, which is just a hamster wheel that's spinning without a hamster, right? You just put it on auto and you forget that the hamster's in there, and you don't feed it and you don't water it, and the hamster dies, but the wheel's still going, right? We don't want to be that. We've all seen business owners do that, and you're like, yeah, they're completely checked out. I want to work with someone who's there. But we're analyzing the content that did well, gives you a bank of content. And so now let's say that you were creating 12 Facebook posts a month, right? I like to break it down into how many am I going to do a week, and then multiply that by 4. So if you're doing 12 Facebook posts a month that are 2 paragraphs long, and now you found 4 that performed really well, put those into your bank. The next month, you're going to create 8 of them. See which ones do really well from those. Put those into your bank. At some point, you have months worth of content. And what I like to do is have those drop in regularly. Now, I have a system that lets me schedule things on repeat. So I have some content that goes out no matter what, and then I add content to it. And so you are creating, this is where the interest comes. You aren't creating more content week after week, but you are building up more content that you can use. So from another health and wellness perspective, if you deal with helping people stay healthy through the winter, right? Or I don't know, let's say essential oils or something. And you know that in October, people are starting to think of cold and flu season. Every October, you talk about getting ready for cold and flu season. You can take those pieces of content, and every October you put them out there. I can guarantee you, if you're only doing it once a year, it's probably 0.1% of the people are going to remember it. So now you have the ones that do best. And over the years, you now create a system of content that serves you well. And now you can build on it. You can say, oh, now I have 12 top performing posts that I'm going to put out every 3 months that talk about like quarterly goals, let's say. But now that I have those, now I'm going to work on doing a second bank of another 12 high performing posts. And now you have more content. So now you're showing me twice a day from the same thing. You're still creating the same amount of content or less. You're taking what works well, you're using it again. The other stuff, if you're like, you know what, I put this out and didn't realize it was Super Bowl Sunday and nobody was on Facebook, right? Or I put this out and then I realized that I had 3 other posts scheduled at the same time, and maybe that's why I didn't perform. You can always test and put it out there again. The important part is that when you create content and put it out there, you want to be measuring what it does. And what it does isn't just vanity measures. It isn't that it has to get 1,000 likes. It isn't that it needs to get 200 shares, or it needs to go viral, or it needs to have this X amount of comments. But when you get interest, when you're looking and you're like, okay, 20 people saw this, 20 people saw this, 20 people saw this, 300 people saw this post. Okay, something happened with that post, and you put that into your bank. Now, the other ones, you're like, you know what? I could tweak this a little bit. Let's try it again and see. Now, one of those may do better. And I have found on LinkedIn, I can have a post that does, okay, I get some comments. I go in, I make a couple tweaks, I put it back out. Somehow when I put it out again and I've tweaked it, it gets much more response. So this process does work. And what it does is it puts you in control of the content. Right now, too many of us are the hamster on the wheel, and we're letting Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn and TikTok or whatever decide what speed we are running at, and we are running ourselves to death. In the meantime, our relationships suffer, our business suffers, and just our general well-being suffers. This is how we get in charge, because we are the CEO and we have to be in charge. Platforms are tools. They are not marketing plans. They are not strategies. They are tools. They come, they go, algorithms change. But when you have a strategy that starts conversations, that builds trust, that creates authority, and that you are tracking and banking content, then it matters so much less when one of those platforms disappears. Like, think about if LinkedIn completely disappeared or Facebook completely disappeared. You always hear people freak out, oh, Facebook's down. What am I going to do? What are you going to do if it just disappeared one day? Because it can, or it can make you disappear from it, right? You don't own anything there. So there's one last part of this system, though, that we haven't mentioned. We don't want to be on this hamster wheel, right? We want to have impactful content. We want to have time to make those relationships and get clients and make money and have our business serve us, right? The last part of it is related to those vanity measures. Most influencers and gurus will push the platform or the technique or their algorithm hack, right? And they tell you this is all you need to do, except things are changing so fast in 2025 that by the time they tell you that, it doesn't work anymore, right? Your biggest job is to get whoever is on there, whatever platform it is, whatever you're doing there, to consume the content and then get in touch with you and follow you elsewhere. So they start reading your blog. They find out, hey, she writes articles on LinkedIn. I'm going to move over there. Oh, she does a newsletter every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. I'm going to sign up for that. You want people to get into your ecosphere, into your CRM, into your database, onto your newsletter, whatever it is. You want to get connected with them and create a web of connections. It's not enough for them to keep liking your post, okay? Because if that platform disappears or your profile disappears or the algorithm completely goes out the window and now nobody sees your post, you need a way to connect with them. So that is the last thing. When you are creating a system and trying to get off of this content, mill and trying to run and keep up, it is better for you to have 10 people a week who say yes to an opt-in, book a call with you, start a conversation in the DMs that you can capture their information and you continue it somewhere else. Sign up for something on another platform or whatever it is. It is better for you to have 10 people a week do that than to have thousands of people liking your posts and never go anywhere else. So I'm going to wrap up with a quick story. I had a client a few years ago now, and he is incredibly engaging and popular on LinkedIn. He follows no schedule. He doesn't follow any of the rules. He just puts up a post and suddenly there's 200 people commenting and having conversation. He's got a gregarious personality. He's very, attractive when the way he puts things and entertaining. And so everyone loves him. The problem was that he was putting out all this amazing content. Everybody's like, wow, he is a true influencer, right? We all want to be his friend because he knows what he's doing. He wasn't making any sales though. It had been almost 5 months since he had signed a client. He had made, a couple dollars here and there on the cheap, downloads or whatever, but he had not had a single real client that pays your bills, like paying you 2,000 or 3,000 or 10,000 or 500, whatever it is, in almost 5 months. And he couldn't figure it out because his LinkedIn engagement kept doubling. His connections kept doubling. Everybody thought it was wonderful, except he wasn't making sales. And so he booked a call with me through LinkedIn and said, I got to see what you're doing because I'm obviously doing something wrong. We talked about it. And he's like, you know what? I really don't like rules or systems. He's like, I'm a rebel, but I'm going to give this a try because I know what I'm doing isn't working. So I came up with a whole system for him and some rules. And it was 2 weeks later, he checked in with me and he's like, I got to tell you, I didn't follow it perfectly because I'm a rebel and don't follow rules. But for 3 days out of the past 2 weeks, I did exactly what you told me to try to capture people, to drive them into my funnel, to just make those little tweaks to what I was already doing. This way I could turn that content into connections and sales. And in 2 weeks, only doing 3 out of all the things that I planned for him, he closed 3 high ticket clients. So he went from having 0 to having $15,000 in sales. And all he made were those tweaks. And it wasn't because he wasn't engaging. It wasn't because he didn't have enough followers, or he wasn't getting enough likes, or he wasn't feeding the algorithm, or he wasn't showing up, or he wasn't taking an ice bath at 5 a.m. to make it all work, right? All those things they tell us to do. It was just because he didn't have any kind of process to go from, I create all this content and I just keep creating all this content, to that content serves me and I am in charge of it. And this is how you go from liking my content to working with me. And so he said, I'm still not going to follow all your rules, but now I know how to turn content into clients. And it was worth every penny that he invested for me to teach him that. So in conclusion, I want to wrap up with, take a step back from what you are doing. This doesn't mean take a 3-week break from creating content, okay? But it does mean that if you have to reschedule everything you've had out for the past 2 weeks, even if none of it was scheduled and it was all haphazard, just so you can take a couple weeks to think about it, take that step back, look at what you're doing, and ask yourself, first of all, where are people coming from that are working with me? What's been the most impact that I've put out there? And how can I increase that to increase impact, to increase income, and to increase those people who want to be in a conversation with me? And that really is the crux of a system that gets you off that hamster wheel, out of the content mill, and scaling your business. So I am always happy to have a consultation with anyone if you want to call me and discuss this further, because I know this was, fire hose in a little bit of time, but I really am very passionate about people not being slaves to the influencers and the social media platforms, but being the CEO and leader of their business so that they can't make that impact for their clients, their family, and their future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was great. That was really great explanation of the content, because, I didn't know how to take it from one to the next either. I was just like posting, oh, only 5 people comment. Oh, only, 6 people comment, only 10 people. And then never reused it again, or try to improve it.
Yes.
So thank you for that. And Father Said, her client, that's the client that left money on the table. We were talking about earlier about leaving money on the table. Speakers are on stage and then, then they walk away with nothing. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And did you have a link to?
Yes, it's in the chat right now. I have a free gift that is called End the Social Media Marketing Drama. It was originally a challenge that I used for my mastermind clients, because they were spending way too much mind drama and time drama on social media. And then when I finished it, I said, this needs to go out to everybody because it's holding way too many businesses back. So it's actually a mini course and a system building process that you can go through so you can end the drama and get more results from what you're doing.
Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate that.
Thank you.